High-tech tide family. Today we follow Ramiz deep into the wild as he builds an incredible, suspended spherical hut using only natural materials and ancient techniques. From foraging sticks to creating clay walls, this is survival architecture at its finest. Let's see how this beautiful craft comes to life. The project began with Ramiz foraging the dense forest for suitable building materials. He collected an assortment of fallen branches, saplings, and flexible sticks from the forest floor by hand, using only primitive means. Each piece was chosen for its role: thicker branches for load-bearing ribs, thinner ones for weaving and lashings. With a pile of suitable sticks at the ready, Ramiz cleared a flat area on the ground to assemble the base frame of the spherical cabin. He began by laying out a perfect circle of wood on the ground, roughly the intended diameter of the sphere's equator. To give the sphere a stable geometry, Ramiz configured a bent agonal ground frame. He used 5 sturdy sticks, which were arranged in a ring and braced in the shape of a pentagon star. Each point of the pentagon marked an anchor where an arching rib would later attach. The pentagonal symmetry was chosen because it naturally distributes forces and helps in shaping a globe. By having 5 equal segments around the circle, Ramiz ensured the spherical form would be evenly balanced. The crossed pieces of the star also acted as temporary braces to hold the circular base rigid and true while building. With the base frame completed, the next phase was to create the curved ribs that would give the cabin its spherical shape. Ramiz used strong cord to tie the ends of each arch securely to the base ring. Forming these ribbed arches by hand required both strength and an understanding of wood's flexibility. As he bent each pole, the natural tension in the wood helped push back and create a self-supporting arch once fixed at both ends. As the arches rose and met, Ramiz secured every joint with meticulous lashing. Once the spherical frame was completed and its main structure secured with concentric rings and ribbed curvature, he transitioned to constructing a stable base floor within the sphere. Carefully selecting stronger, straighter wooden branches, Ramiz aligned them across the diameter of the base opening. These pieces had to support a person's weight and distribute it evenly across the lower half of the curved cage. To integrate the floor with the frame, he inserted the thicker sticks between the ribs, notched them into place where necessary. Ramiz dug a small pit to extract clay, or perhaps to locate a moist basin near a water source. But above all, what he was doing was to conduct a series of survival tests within and around the cabin. He had to turn the structure from a theoretical shelter into a verified living space. Thus, one of the first priorities in any off-grid environment, for instance, is water purification. The ability to boil water is essential not only for hydration, but also for cooking and sterilizing tools or cloth. He demonstrated this by setting up a basic campfire next to the sphere. As we see, he took care to keep it safely distanced from the flammable wooden frame. That night, Ramiz retreated into the cabin for his first sleep trial. After this first night, he had to keep moving, so he started building the walls of the hut. If we watch carefully, we'll see that this soil appears to contain a mix of clay and loam. This is a critical factor, as clay content is necessary for adhesion in daubing. Simultaneously, he gathers fresh green grass, chosen for its long fibers and tensile strength. This stage mirrors ancient insulation and sealing techniques, where straw was mixed with mud to create a binding matrix. This fibrous mixture enhances the strength and crack resistance of the clay once dried, preventing shrinkage and breakage. Ramiz then blends the materials directly on the forest floor. The grass is spread over a flat surface and thoroughly incorporated with moist clay, resulting in a fibrous earthen plaster. The technique is called wattle and daub, a prehistoric building method still used in rural constructions around the world. However, unlike the traditional method that applies daub over interwoven sticks, Ramiz is working with a pre-existing basket-like framework. The ribs and cross weavings of his spherical hut serve naturally as both support and lath. In parallel with architectural completion, Ramiz showcases more survival proficiency. Here he cooks foraged food, specifically preparing what appears to be wild mushrooms. Then, again, working on the walls, by starting from the bottom, he ensures the structure can bear the weight of the wet clay. Meanwhile, working upward allows for drying to begin before gravity causes sagging. This layering method also follows traditional passive insulation practices. Thick clay walls slow heat loss at night and buffer heat gained during the day. Beyond insulation and weatherproofing, this clay encasement contributes to acoustic dampening. It marks the psychological transition from a mere shelter to a real home, one whose walls provide silence, scent absorption, and warmth. Following the initial daub coating, Ramiz continues to strengthen and smooth the outer shell of the spherical structure. This action serves several functions. It smooths out inconsistencies left by the first application. Also, it closes fine gaps for better thermal retention and provides increased rain and wind resistance. Inside the structure, the final daub is applied to the interior walls, giving the inner surface a uniform, concave clay lining. This inner skin completes the thermal envelope of the structure, moderating temperature swings. Attention then turns to practical entry and exit, and Ramiz constructs a hinged wooden shutter for the entrance. A similar shutter is installed over a rectangular window, which is sealed with a translucent plastic sheet. Both openings elevate the structure beyond a shelter into a recognizable micro-cabin. Inside, the transformation continues with the addition of insulative green fabric, tacked along the walls to form a warm interior lining. Ramiz then places a layer of flat, bark-less logs on the floor to elevate himself above the potentially cold or damp clay platform. Constructed from the same locally harvested clay used in the wall rendering, the stove also embodies ancient survival know-how. Ramiz begins by shaping the firebox, forming a rectangular clay chamber with a lower opening for fuel input and airflow. He sculpts a vertical flue by hand, ensuring it vents through a chimney that pierces the top wall of the cabin. The stove is capped with a handmade clay lid, which also doubles as a cooking surface. At the same time, Ramiz continues to demonstrate his deep understanding of forest survival by foraging. These berries are not only edible and packed with vital nutrients, but also contain natural anthocyanins. These are in fact organic pigments that have long been used as dyes by ancient and indigenous cultures. Using a handmade wooden pestle, Ramiz crushes the berries into a dense pulp, transforming what would normally be a foraged meal into a primitive but effective paint. The berry pigment, once applied, gives the hut a subtle, organic hue that interacts with the shifting light of the forest. The result is a finish that feels alive and dynamic, capable of both camouflaging the hut in autumn's reddish hues. But more than an aesthetic gesture, this coat also creates a layer of mild waterproofing and UV protection. The sugars and tannins present in the berries, when exposed to air and sun, form a slightly resistant skin over the clay walls. Finally, it is time to suspend the cabin high above the ground, which is not merely for show. In the forests where Ramiz operates, large predators like bears or wolves roam. Placing a shelter on the ground could invite unwelcome encounters, but at 25 meters up, he is well beyond the reach of most animals. Bears, for example, are excellent climbers in some cases, but they typically don't venture out onto narrow limbs at such heights. This mirrors the practice of certain indigenous peoples, the Korowai tribe of New Guinea. Both of them are famous for building tree houses up to 40+ meters high to stay safe from predators. Even smaller nuisances like rodents or snakes will have a very hard time infiltrating a hanging sphere in the canopy. In essence, he will be out of sight, out of reach for dangerous animals, providing peace of mind during sleep. Also, another motivation is to avoid flooding and dampness. Forest floors can become waterlogged or even submerged during heavy rains and seasonal floods. By being 25 meters up, Ramiz's hut stays dry no matter what happens below. Such indigenous groups in flood-prone jungles also have long used this strategy. Thus, everything in this project becomes a remarkable embodiment of minimalist architecture, married to survivalist philosophy.